musical tradition. So what are we doing at the 8 o'clock? What we're doing is the liturgy, the center of the musical tradition itself, something which is repeated at all three services, and something which allows us, through the structure of readings, prayers, homilies, and especially the communion service, to focus closely on who we are, why we're here, and what we're doing. It's a structure that allows us a contact with other communities throughout space and throughout time who are doing and have been doing the same actions as we do here every Sunday. And besides the communities, the other communities that we're joined to, there's a community that comes here at 8 o'clock, which is a reflection of the variety of the parish, of the city, and of the world we live in. There are people here who come from the depths of East York. There are people who come from just across the street. And there's no age limit on who gets to take up the collection. And from this very community, the parish reaches out into its neighborhood. We're doing that for a long time now. And also through things like helping to sponsor refugees out into the world. All of this is a sign that the parish is a place which is alive. And one way of thinking about the 8 o'clock service is in the quietness of the early morning, you can hear its heartbeat.
And there were 7 or 8 different themes, and it wasn't focused. And I only get her in church twice a year. So I decided to come here because I knew the preaching was good.
I don't know what to say. Why did you stay?
I stayed because it was very funny. My first Sunday, it was, I forget the text, but it was basically the call to ministry, and you, I guess, were rallying the troops to teach Sunday school. And I've been a Sunday school teacher in about 8 different countries around the world since I've been about 22. I've taught Sunday school. And I'd come back to Canada after the foreign service, and I hadn't taught Sunday school for about 6 years because no one really wanted my gifts. And you immediately wanted me to teach Sunday school, and I felt welcome. And since then, the relationship I've developed with the people here has been quite wonderful. Also, Nora kept pestering. She's one of my volunteers in the diocese. I work for the diocese, and Nora kept pestering me to come, and I felt very welcome here and loved. I got a hug from Nolan when I came to a church school meeting on Thursday. I got a hug at peace, and I do feel like I'm part of the community after such a short time. I'm very grateful.
At the direction of God, I stay here at God's pleasure. Having said that, I am continually surprised and pleased that there seems to be a never-ending succession of areas in which I can offer myself to God and to the unfolding of this parish. When I came here the first time in 1989, I told people that I had found a parish where I absolutely fit in. And their response was, "What kind of a weird place is that?" Well, it's a weird place where this weird person is very happy to have found a home. Thank you.
Words why I come here to St. Mary Magdalene's. Like a lot of people in the 1960s, I left church as a teenager. But about 20 years ago, I realized that I needed to discover the Christian faith for myself. And that is why I came here. Through the liturgy here, through the preaching that I heard here, through the amazing hymns that we sing here, I discovered an embodied faith. A faith in God that involves all 5 senses, that involves heart, mind, and soul, and one that involves an amazing sense of community, So that's what keeps me coming here. But it's also what drew me to our community dinner program. Now, I know that in a society as prosperous as ours, there should be no need for meal programs. It's a reminder of much that remains to be done to realize God's reign in this world. But I believe that we are called to hospitality and presence, that we are called to be there for people, and that in fact, it is our faith in action, it's incarnational faith in action. And it is something that we do together. And when we do that, I think there are times that we really can catch a glimpse of the kind of world that God is calling us to make.
I came just over 48 years ago, 1967, when I moved with my then husband from a small rural community in Saskatchewan, where he was a United Church minister. I grew up in Vancouver, and I was a parishioner at St. James, Vancouver. So when I came to Toronto, I looked around for the obvious church and found it immediately. In Saskatchewan, the nearest Anglican church was 50 miles away, and we only had one car. And since he was a minister, he got preference on the car. So I was thrilled to come here the summer of 1967.
And you've been here ever since, and you've been deeply involved in life of the parish in many ways. I go back occasionally and look in the archives, and it's been pretty much continued. Why do you provide for the life of this parish in the different ways in which you give to us? Why is that important to you? It's a leading question.
That was the one question I was hoping you would ask. Because it's such a complicated answer. I come by trying to be faithful for the worship. I have done many things here, from clearing snow when we had a maintenance fellow who was too old to do it. And I've done a whole variety of things, from clearing snow to being the clerk of the advisory board and vestry and lay delegate and wardens twice. I've always found it a challenging place to come. Not always easy. Although there were some things that I've done here that have actually been kind of groundbreaking. Would you believe it? I was the first woman to read a lesson in this parish. It was on Good Friday, and the roof still stayed upright. And I was the first woman warden as well. So these were very exciting things. Many things drew me besides just the worship, the faith, the community. I remember thinking, because this parish, we don't always get along, but I remember thinking at a particularly difficult time how much I loved everyone here, no matter how wrong they were in their opinions. And obviously, referring to your sermon, but obviously I've been sent to try
reflects in what you do in the secular world.
Sure. So I'm the CEO of YWCA Toronto, which, despite its name, the Young Women's Christian Association, is not a religious organization. But I would say that I think that most people there know that in fact I am a Christian. And that work is very important to me, and I do absolutely connect it with my faith. that I think we must love our neighbor and provide where we have the talents to provide programs and services. And at the YWCA, we actually work with some of the most disadvantaged women and girls in the city.
Thank you very much.
So why am I here, Fathers Matthew and Fathers David? I come to you from Vancouver. 9 months ago I left the verdant shores of Canada's western portal for this Canada's metropolitan. And I asked Father Matthew at St. James Anglican, the Anglo-Catholic Basilica in Vancouver, think St. Anne's shell, St. Thomas's filling. Where does an adherent of the Oxford movement and a devotee of Anglo-Catholicism worship in Canada's heartland? And he said there are two choices. There's STOH, which is VCP, east-facing, or SMM, which is BAS, west-facing. When he mentioned SMM, it reminded me of Father Harold, who left St. James for this place many years ago in his mission to those who dwell beyond the mountains, as Vancouver sees Canada. So it's not going to be a perfect match to St. James, which is BAS, east-facing, so I'd have to do some parish shopping. So I arrived here and found my perch in the Lady Chapel, an excellent place to stoop on the servers, and also to get a panoramic view of the congregation, the choir, the sanctuary. And it had the added benefit it's outside the reach of the alms plate, and the servers come down and visit me and keep me company during the sermon. Why am I here? Father David spotted me in that perch, and not waiting till after the service to have that exit interview of "good to see you, I hope I see you again sometime soon," came down and introduced himself to me and quizzed me on who I was and why I was here. In other words, had a very warm and embracing welcome. Why I'm still here is because of you, the clergy, the choirs, the congregation, and of course, the servers. St. Mary's Magdalene offers seemingly innumerable opportunities for worship, for witness, for activities, for engagements. There's more than can be possibly done if you were to try to attend all. And it is because of St. Mary's Magdalene is what I would consider a full service center, why I have embraced it and why I call it my home. Thank you.
What brought you to St. Mary's in the first place, and what makes you stay here?
Actually, I have a history with SMM. My mom actually grew up in this church. My parents actually got married in this church, and just last year they celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. I'm just trying to continue the tradition, and that is why I come with my family. SMM in a lot of ways is close to my heart, aside from the family connection, from the liturgy to the music, to the architecture, to the children and youth programs, to the community outreach programs, everything and all the work that the different ministers that have gone through from 100 odd years when the church was started to as recent as close to 70 years since the dedication. You have a situation where you just realize that if you didn't have the right set of people in the church, probably the church wouldn't be here till now. So it was all about handing off, passing the baton to the next group, and you can see it in even going from the music, and you can see it from at least as way back as I can remember. I hear my mom saying Hilly Whelan. He was long before my time, but in her own time. I remember Dr. Noble. I remember Stephanie Martin, and up to recent I remember Andre. I mean, not I remember. He's actually